President Xi quoted an ancient Chinese adage, those who only seek comfort for themselves will ultimately be rejected. Those who sacrifice their own interests for the success of others will be supported.
President Xi said that development is the right of all countries, rather than an exclusive privilege of the few.
Building a community with a shared future for humanity is not just a concept. It drives action, resulting in clear and concrete outcomes.
It's a global community of shared future. I think that is one of the biggest big ideas that has been put forward on a strategic level this century. It's not just a concept. I think the global community of shared future is made very concrete by the Belt and Road Initiative. Also, China's approach to climate change. China has set itself some very ambitious goals for 2030. Carbon peaking, for 2060 carbon neutrality, and it's working firmly towards these goals. And China's conscious that it needs to do that not just for its own benefit, but for the benefit of the global community.
I was impressed by the idea of improving connectivity in the world by the usual physical means, by air, by sea, and by land. What we have discovered is that China has invested a great deal in many countries in the infrastructure.
I think what China has initiated was something called Globalization 2.0. It had until now, globalization as it was first developed was really the idea that capital can move throughout the world. And it did. But what it did not do, it did not assure development for all the countries that were touched by this capital investment. And a lot of countries, of course, rejected this globalization because they were on the backside of it. They became, to some extent, the victims of it. China, with this idea of win-win cooperation, has introduced a new form of globalization, a globalization which is all-inclusive.
You know, I think the one that has struck me the most has been the Belt Road Initiative. This was a major change, so he really deserves to be commended for this. Although the West sees this as a competition, the developing world is winning. Additionally, I think it's also critical to note that China's unwavering support for the Paris Agreement, China's opposing hegemony and supporting true multilateralism and the reform of multilateral organizations. All of this represents a new era of going global and moving forward, while the West turns increasingly inward and even looks backward. So in short, I think what we can see here throughout the Xi period, we see consistency, we see principles.
He's been approaching this through economic development, through infrastructure, through environmental solutions, working through the United Nations as an overarching vehicle, but also through the Belt and Road policy, which is working with countries that have shared needs and also shared challenges of economic development, where China's experience can be shared and can be borrowed and adapted to local circumstances. It's not just about creating a system which is determined by one set of rules, but one which has rules that are appropriate for each country, each circumstance, each region. But he's looking at how nations and people can work together in a synchronistic and synergistic way.
Through the Belt and Road Initiative, what is China doing? So it's a massive undertaking to benefit the world, to raise people up, for people have the opportunity, have the infrastructure, have the support and the resources they need, provided in cooperation with the government, to be able to improve their lives, just like we saw happen here in China.
What our expert said actually reminded me of a quote by President Xi.
在全球性危机的惊涛骇浪里，各国不是乘坐在190多条小船上，而是乘坐在一条命运与共的大船上。小船经不起风浪，巨舰才能顶住惊涛骇浪。